Hey guys, it's Sam, and today I'm going to be taking you on a little tour of my reading spreadsheet. So this is going to mostly be a voiceover video, but I wanted to introduce you to what I'm doing. So I use a reading spreadsheet that I have modified from Sophie from Portal in the Pages reading spreadsheet that she does every year. So I will link her video down below that explains how to use the spreadsheet. I am not going to be explaining how to use the spreadsheet because I did not make it. I mostly use hers. I'll show you everything. I mostly use her spreadsheet that she creates and then change a few things and add a few additional pages that look nothing like her pages. I mean, I kind of integrate her theme into it, but you'll see when I show you. But most, like, all of the hard work is absolutely Sophie. Check out her video, donate to her, help her out if you use her spreadsheet, all of that stuff. But yeah, she does all of the work. I do not know how to make spreadsheets. I just know how to modify them for my own use as needed. So the rest of this video is going to be me showing you how I use my spreadsheet, what I find helpful about it, what I've added to it to track and stuff for me, because I like having the data and everything like that, especially when it's made easy by somebody else making a spreadsheet. So let's get into it. All right, so here is my spreadsheet. I actually don't have my most recent reads filled in here, but this is the first part of it. So all of the tabs down here show the different screens and things that I have to track. So the majority of this, from here to here, is all part of the original spreadsheet that was set up by Sophie. I did make some changes as far as, I think, like font and stuff, but nothing super serious in here, just stuff that I preferred as far as the look of it. But this, you know, is pretty self-explanatory about what it shows. And I do find it really helpful for genre, pages, all that stuff. So this tracks basically everything that I would want to track. The diversity column, I am a little torn on because I'll show you in a second what it shows up like in statistics. It's just very broad, and there almost needs to be multiple diversity categories because sometimes I have more than one kind of representation in a book, and I don't really know what to necessarily mark down. So for the most part, I do tend to do the LGBT representation the most in here of all the ones that she did have already entered into the spreadsheet, but I do feel like there needs to be some more specific kind of categories in there. And then as far as about the authors, this is all the same as what she has, but she actually didn't have new to me. She had, I think, in translation, and I really don't read translated work, so that isn't really that helpful to me. But last year's spreadsheet, she did have this new to me author thing, and I found that really helpful. So I changed this category to new to me, and that shows up in my statistics as well. So yeah, this is pretty self-explanatory. But what this ends up turning into, and it's not that hard because this is all information you can get off of Goodreads, besides obviously, like, you know, the stuff that's about you reading it. But otherwise, it's just filling stuff in from Goodreads. So I'm going to actually skip the bought and borrowed and go right to statistics because that's where this shows up. So this is all part of what she created so that all of this gets plugged in. So I have made a couple of edits here and there because I think most of this is me. So as far as like DNFs, books returned, well, returned unread is her, and then I think some of these I added. It's hard for me to remember what stuff I added to it because I did it all at the beginning of the year, but I think I did DNF so that it would take it out of my like total books read and TBR and things like that. This is all so that I can change things for tracking my TBR and stuff, because I obviously, like I said, DNF books, sometimes I on haul books, and then rereads too. Were counting as books read off of my TBR. So I made some changes to the stats in here and the like formula so that this would show up correctly. So this has a lot of stuff that is tracked via Goodreads anyway, but is just much more in depth, and that's why I find it helpful. So I have like my Goodreads goal, but then, you know, you can have how many books you want per month to read, things like that. Like this all, I mean, this is self-explanatory. This shows you what it all tracks and what I find really helpful. So this is like the major stuff up here, honestly, and I'll show you some of this as far as like stuff from the library or whatever. My average star rating, and it just seems like it's more in-depth than Goodreads, obviously. It shows my total number of pages read, which I think is really cool. The average number of pages per book, so I tend to read books around 400 pages. How many audiobooks I listened to and how many hours I spent listening. So that's really fun. So far this year I've already read 46 books. It's actually higher than that because I haven't updated this yet. So then we go down and it shows you your whole year at a glance. So this is like how many books you read per month. You know, wow, look at April. Really doing well there. And then how many pages read, and then on average how many days per book. Look, this is just wow. And how many pages per day. So that's fun.
And then as far as by the books and stuff, this has, you know, the genres, which again, for me, it's like I could delete some of these genres because I never read out of them, but I don't, because then it would just like mess up the whole spreadsheet. So that, page length, the hardback, paperback, ebook, audiobook thing I find really helpful each year because look, I mean, it's pretty evenly spread out, I mean, generally speaking. So that's fun. The reason this is off a little bit is because I have books entered that I haven't put the date that I finish it yet on my spreadsheet. So that's why this is looking all funky. But trust me, it actually works. Years published also. I mean, you can see that obviously I read mostly new releases, but that's fun. Star rating, obviously, try to get that nice bell curve mostly. The age group, and then this is the diversity thing I was talking about. So she actually does have a lot of things in here that are good to be able to count, but like, for example, mental health and LGBT is something that could all be in there. So it's really hard to say. And like feminist, like that's really, I feel like a lot of the books I read are feminist. So it's just harder for me. I feel like I need multiple categories to count multiple of these things because it's not actually going to track that appropriately. What I've tended to do is usually I go more for the LGBTQ plus representation, but I will also, if the mental health is like really pronounced, I will do that too. Actually, mental health, there should be something on here. Or maybe I marked them as disabled. Yeah, that's the thing too. So I read a book where somebody had some pretty severe mental health things going on, some OCD, and then also there's a character that was disabled. So and they were both two dual POV main characters. So I ended up marking disabled apparently more so than mental health. But yeah, so that makes it a little bit harder to actually track that. I'm using it, but I think hopefully in the future she'll make that a little bit easier. And then like series type and stuff like that. And then about the authors, this is, I mean, obviously look at like most of my people are from the USA. This does show like what you tend to read. And like I said, this new to me thing is really helpful because look at right now it's like almost 50-50 new to me versus not. And then this is books bought. I'm not really going to go through that because I haven't really bought that many books. And also, I don't want to go through all this because it's not like it's my end of the year stats or anything. And then borrowed, because there is a bought and borrowed section, which I will show you. Is that all for stats? Okay. And then also, if you are more of a visual person, there's also the charts, which I don't tend to look at that much. I do more at the end of the year, but like not, like month to month, I'll look at statistics, but I won't necessarily look at charts. So this just shows like nice bar graphs and pie charts and stuff like that for all of the stats. But again, it's kind of more fun at the end of the year. Then here's that bought and borrowed. So there's this bought section that will show how much things cost, what you bought each month, and then this will add to the TBR automatically, which is nice. So my TBR number will go up to reflect me purchasing books and adding them to my TBR. So on here, a lot of this is obviously books for review. Most of this review books from NetGalley, because all of these like down here are books that I got, romance books off of NetGalley. So I add the NetGalley books because they're not actually on my TBR to this bought list as soon as I read them, so they don't actually impact my TBR that much because they're not really for me on my like physical TBR, right? They're on my Kindle, so I don't really add that a ton, but I will tally up when I do buy something. But this year so far, I've just gotten stuff for review, stuff from subscription boxes, and then I did some books for trade, and I've only like bought a couple of books. But then we also have the library book titles. So this is your amount that it would cost. So I go and look it up on like Amazon or something and tell myself how much I saved. Furyborn, I didn't put anything on there because Furyborn was actually, it's a book that was on my TBR. So it's not like I saved anything. It's a book that I physically owned. So then we get to the sections that aren't from her base spread. So actually the TBR one is one that she had in a previous spreadsheet. So I used this in a previous year and I just copied it over to this year. She took it out because of a lot of things, like it was messing up, like the formulas weren't really working well. So I use this just because I like it. Before it used to be very connected into the spreadsheet as a whole, and it's not anymore. But this just shows like what it is, how many pages, and the date that it was added. That's what really like the most helpful for me, because then I can kind of sort things by the date they were added, especially right now, and also page number, because I added this over here, and this was everything that's on there, even stuff that has already been read, but kind of shows me like how many books I own in different page ranges. So that I find really helpful. And that way, if I'm, needing to find a book on my TBR for a certain reading prompt for a certain page number or whatever, or like, the book that's been in your TBR the longest, whatever, I can come in here and look at this like page and date added and stuff. And then also this does show time since first purchased, the date read, which I do have to manually enter because now it doesn't connect to the rest of the spreadsheet, and then how long it's been on your TBR. So this is where I came to that whole conclusion about some of the books that I wanted to read before the June this year, because a lot of these are books that have been on my TBR for like 3 and 4 years. But generally we can see, if we go farther down to the books that have been more recently added, see, these are all the books that have been most recently added, like within the last few months, and they've been read for the most part. I haven't updated this since January, because I haven't brought a ton of books in to like my physical TBR, but I need to actually update this to show. But yeah, so I do tend to read things very quickly after getting them, generally speaking. So this is fun to kind of see. Now, the series one, this is actually taken, I think, from someone else's spreadsheet, but I'm not sure whose. Hannah, who is one of my Patreon supporters, did send us this in the Patreon Discord group, and I think also on the Patreon page. So that's where I found this and plugged this into the already existing spreadsheet. So I went through and made it so that it looked like it went with the rest of the spreadsheet, even though it's not part of the original spreadsheet that Sophie created. So this has all of the completed series, caught up series, unfinished series, all that stuff, which I really like. And then shows how many series that I've completed each year. And this was a pain in the butt to go through. Actually, some of these might not be accurate because I probably have finished more series than this in my life, but I didn't go through and add like every single series. But first we have the currently reading. So this is all of my series that I'm currently reading. It shows if the series has been completed yet, if all the books are out, and then shows where I am in it. So most of these are just started. And then the green books are the books that I've read in the series. Yellow are books that are released but I have not yet read. And then for me, I added this blue to show like I own these books, but I haven't read them yet. So, and then I did blue too for here, that these are series that I own all the books in the series and can finish them out, just so I can look at this and be like, okay, I need to finish these series. So that's what I did. And then if there's no color, it means that there's a book planned, but it's not released yet. And then below that, see, there's a lot. Below that is all the completed series, which is great, wonderful, fantastic. So as soon as I finish a series, I turn it all to green and I make it come down here. And then that tracks it, with the year and everything up in the box up above, so that I can see how many series I finish. This is something I've recently added. I'm not going to go over it a ton because I'm going to make a video about it. But a series that I do want to read just to kind of keep track. Not a ton, actually. Ones that I haven't started. And then these are my DNF'd series. I have not added all the series I've DNF'd. I actually just, I was going to, and then I was like, I'm tired. I don't want to. So this has books from the start of the year that I did start, but then didn't want to continue. I'm adding it from the beginning of this year forward, but I'm not going back and going through every single series. I was going to, you can see that I tried and I was like, no, there's so many series that I haven't continued with. So, but I will be doing that from 2020 forward. Then we do have a reading goals thing. This is just something that I did myself. I think she had something like a reading goals attached to some kind of certain reading challenge. I just deleted all that because I don't use that reading challenge. And then I entered in my TBR goals from the beginning of the year so that I could keep track somewhere. So this way I can say, what have I finished? Yes. I finished all the series I wanted to finish. These are all the books I wanted to read before June. These are the graphic novel series I want to catch up on, which I haven't started working on yet because I wanted to get my TBR down first. And then TBR under a certain time, I have done that. And 5-star TBR predictions so that I can keep track of all of my 5-star TBR predictions, because I found that I would make those videos and then not keep track anywhere of the books that I actually wanted to read, and then I would lose track of it. So yeah, as you can see, there's some spoilers of this. I am going to be doing a mid-year goals check-in, so you guys can kind of see ahead of time if you're watching this. But yeah, that way I can kind of see where I am with that. Then lastly, I actually blocked some stuff out for spoilers' sake, but this, you guys will notice, is me tracking my couples that I read about each year. So this is all of the books that I read that have prominent couples in them, and I'm writing down all their names because this will help me so much at the end of the year. This is my first year I'm doing this. And then this box that you can't see has my opinions on them, like a short little brief thing about it. And then this box has whether it's a yay or nay, whether it's a couple I liked or didn't. So every couple that I've read about so far this year is listed on here, which is good. So this will really help me at the end of the year. This is me helping future self out, because a lot of times I would forget a lot of things about couples, or particular points about why usually I didn't forget why I loved them, but I would forget maybe why I didn't like them or why I was kind of meh about them. So I have all of the information in here so that I can talk about it later and bring stuff up at the end of the year when I do my favorite and least favorite couples of the year. So that's it for my spreadsheet. I really enjoy it. Again, this wasn't anything like going over any questions or anything about it or how to do it, but this kind of shows what I like most about tracking my reading. So again, a lot of it is I really like the page numbers, hours listened, obviously like star rating and stuff, but that is tracked on Goodreads, but I do like having it here because I feel like it's more accurate. And then the authors in particular, if they are new to me, I really like that stat for some reason. And then just all the stats on here really about, you know, page number, page length, genre, all that stuff that really helps me at the end of the year. And it is just really motivating for me to see this every time that I enter something. I like seeing the numbers go down or up depending on what I'm shooting for. All of that I just find really helpful, and I think it's really interesting for me to be able to each year, now that I've been doing this for, I think this is my 3rd year doing a reading spreadsheet. Now that I've been doing it for a while, it's kind of fun to go back and see certain years, you know, like every year in April, I tend to read a lot. And, you know, in August, I don't tend to read as much. And here's the genres I tend to reach for certain times a year, like all of that. So it just is a really fun way to analyze reading if that's something that you enjoy. And it helps me as a content creator, too, as far as picking books for readathons, like I said, or talking about my goals, or talking about my favorite couples, things like that. So I hope this was enjoyable.
All right, I hope you guys found that helpful. If you do have any questions about like tracking your reading and stuff like this, leave those questions down below and let me know if you use a spreadsheet and what you use to track on there. I would love to make additions to my own spreadsheet, so leave that information down below for me as well. And again, I can't tell you how to use the spreadsheet because I am not the creator of it, but if you have any tips and tricks for spreadsheets and everything, definitely let me know. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.